Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan, and in today's video, we're going to be checking out CSS inside of Wix Studio. Let's go ahead and get started. So we are in the Wix Studio editor, and maybe I want to apply some CSS. So what you can do is easily come over to code, press start coding. Then this is basically going to enable the coding panel over here on the left, and we can easily just start adding code if we want to. But if we switch over to the CSS tab, here we're going to have the CSS, and what I want to do first is actually grab this link right here. And if we open up this website, it's basically going to give you a bunch of different elements on your website that you can edit with CSS. Now, if you aren't familiar with what CSS is, this is basically a coding language that lets you style and design your website. Now, I know some of you might be saying, like, what's really the point of CSS when you can easily just select an element and design it right here in the editor? However, there are some cases where CSS would be very necessary. And before I kind of show you that, let me just go ahead and delete this code and kind of show you what you can do with CSS. For example, maybe we wanted this button to be blue. So what we could do is easily grab the button. We could say background color, and we could set it to blue. And automatically on the page, you will see that the button turned blue. This is basically what CSS does. It's basically coding the design onto your website. Now, again, if you do come over to this website, which when you open up the CSS coding panel, you'll basically grab that link and you can see all of the different elements that you can edit with CSS. And then if you click on them, it'll even give you specific things you can change about it, like the accordion title, the container, the item, and the icons. So you don't just have access to design the accordion, you can get into the nitty-gritty and change several things about it with CSS. But one reason I am extremely excited about CSS in Wix is because we can actually use Adobe Fonts. Now, if you aren't aware of Adobe Fonts, it's basically a service that comes with your Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, and it's a giant library of fonts that you can use. However, you cannot download them, at least not legally. And unfortunately, with Wix, prior to CSS, the only way to use Adobe Fonts was to basically secretly download the font file from Adobe and upload it to Wix. Now, again, that wasn't the most legal option because that would kind of be against your terms of service. However, with CSS, we can now use Adobe Fonts. So if I come over to Adobe Fonts and I just find a font real quick that would seem cool, well, let's just use this one right over here. I think it would look pretty cool. So what we're going to do is say add to web project. We'll add it to my Adobe Fonts for Wix and press save. Now it's going to give us a little bit of code to use, but because we're not using HTML, we're using CSS, we actually need to use the @import. And what we're going to do is not copy the style tag. We're just going to grab this import one right here. We'll come back over to Wix, and I'm going to paste in this basically import thing right here. So then if we want to change any text elements on our website, we could use the global text classes here. So for this example, we want to use rich text underscore text, just like this. And what we're going to do is actually come back over to Adobe Fonts, and we're going to copy this text right here, and we're going to paste it in. So now you can see that all of the text elements basically transformed into the new font. But if I delete that first line of code and we want to add our own font weight, what we could do is come over to font weight and then maybe say 800, and that basically makes it a bolder version. And once you kind of learn CSS, you'll realize it's actually not that difficult. It's pretty easy to do. But another really cool thing about CSS, which admittedly is not currently working in Wix quite yet, is custom classes. So as of right now, when we apply this rich text, it's applying it to all text elements on your website. But maybe you only want this font for like your headings and not your paragraphs, right? So what you're supposed to be able to do is, let's grab this element right here, and we can come down to custom classes and give it our own custom class, whatever we want, which I already created one called heading text. So instead of using rich text, we should be able to use heading text, just like this. Like I was saying earlier, it's not currently working correctly. However, this font is supposed to change with this font weight. But the cool thing is since we created this class, we could then come down to this text element and give it the same class, and then it would update with the design that you have set. Now, like I was saying earlier, the whole CSS thing is still kind of in beta and they're working on it, but I think it's a fantastic tool and I'm really looking forward to playing around with more CSS options in the near future. If you guys want to see more CSS videos, be sure to give this video a like. But that's basically gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more Wix Studio content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I'll see you on the next one.